So guys, in today's video I'm going to be replacing the stock headlight bulbs in my Polo 6R to a pair of Philips LED retrofit bulbs. It's no secret that the stock lights on the Polo aren't the brightest headlights to have, and personally I feel they are perfectly usable in the city, but they do not inspire a lot of confidence on highways, especially at higher speeds and in poor weather. So I'm going to try and make this video as informative as I can so you can learn more about these headlights while we work to replace these bulbs. So this is what the stock headlight pattern looks like on a wall at a rough distance of about 25 feet, and I'm operating the high beam intermittently to give you an idea. The low beam has been checked and referenced to have a perfectly road legal cutoff by making markings on the wall. So the stock dual barrel headlight system houses a pair of H7 halogen bulbs doing duty as low and high beam. We get a fairly usable pair of cornering fog lights which illuminate automatically with steering input on cars with ESP, and what's neat is that these fog lights also turn on when you are reversing, thus improving the ground visibility up front. We have a manual headlight leveler on the Polo for adjusting the beam height depending on how loaded the vehicle is, and using this leveler, the beam height can be adjusted for optimum vision on the road. Notice the two rising beams on this right-hand drive vehicle. This is honestly the perfect beam pattern. It's crisp, it's sharp, and it cuts off perfectly. I'll leave a few links to a few useful videos so you can learn more about aligning your headlights the right way. Despite being perfectly road legal though, it's just not enough for comfortable highway driving. So to improve the visibility, I'll be trying out the Philips Ultinon Pro 9000 LEDs, and I'll leave a link to my thread below about this upgrade. Before we move ahead, let me add a disclaimer which I'm fully aware of. From a global road safety point of view, it is not road legal to install these bulbs in a reflector housing, since most reflectors end up scattering LED light and result in poor road visibility and a glare for oncoming drivers. But you will genuinely be surprised when you see how well these bulbs perform. So it's not super easy to access the headlight bulb due to space constraint in the engine bay, and so we need to unscrew and take the headlight assembly out of the car to make our life simpler. We start by taking the two T30 screws on the headlight out. Next, we push the headlight connector in and then press down the locking tab to easily pull the headlight connector out. The Polo with a dual barrel headlight comes with a T10 connector, while the OEM LED or bi-xenons use a T14. The headlight sits flush on the vehicle on two plastic guides, and so the headlight might need to be pushed out from the back. To give you a quick physical overview of this assembly, the dual barrel headlight houses dual H7 halogen bulbs, with the rightmost being the low beam and the one in the middle being the high beam. This headlight housing has no integrated DRL on board. These headlights were made in India by Hella and have geometric differences for driving on the left side of the road like we do in countries like India, Australia and UK. The headlights are held onto the car by these plastic tabs which may break or weaken due to heat as the car ages, but fortunately they can be repaired and restored using repair kits when the time comes. These plastic screws on the top are for reflector beam adjustment, and they are synchronized to plastic gears which are firm but slightly sensitive to damage. The bulbs are covered by a rubber cap which is to keep dust and water outside the headlight. Once we take these dust caps off, we can access the actual bulb inside, which is locked and held into place by two torque screws, most probably a T20. Slightly loosen these up and then rotate the holder to bring the bulb and the holder out. If you are just looking to replace the bulb, you can pull the existing bulb out right now and install your new one. Do make it a point to wipe the glass on the new bulb with a clean cloth, since the life of the bulb greatly reduces due to the smudge and oil on your fingertips. Now Volkswagen has done something funny with their Indian spec headlight. They use a metal ring to fit their H7 halogen bulb, and it turns out that this ring is not wide enough to seat an LED bulb. Since we wish to install an LED bulb, we need to take this headlight ring off and modify or replace it to fit the LED bulb in question. This ring is locked in place on two plastic tabs, and it can be easily pried off with a flat blade screwdriver. Do keep this headlight ring safe in case you wish to use stock halogen bulbs in your headlights again. So the Ultinon Pro 9000 which I'm going to be using today are one of the most advanced LED retrofit bulbs from Philips at the moment, and they have a Lumi-LED top contact LED chip system. The bulb has an aluminium body with an integrated heatsink and also features a cooling fan. Philips is offering a 2 plus 3 years warranty on these bulbs, which are rated for about 5000 hours of usage time. On a PQ25 Polo, you don't have to worry about these bulbs throwing errors since only the fog lights are BCM controlled. But in case you need it, the Ultinon Pro 9000 has built-in CAN bus compliance, which is great news for someone considering them for other vehicles. This bulb is designed with a twistable connector ring which should fit most H7 bulb systems directly. But since Volkswagen India is using a modified ring for the H7 bulbs, we cannot directly use an LED bulb in this assembly. You need an LED connector ring which is available in accessory stores, but I've linked one such product in the description below. If you plan on retrofitting an LED bulb in a reflector housing, if the bulb filament is not geometrically similar to the LED chipset, then the headlight beam pattern will glare and will blind drivers. This will end up not giving you the best visibility that your bulb can offer. And this is what is common in the case of cheaper LED bulbs which are neither engineered well nor installed in the correct orientation. Your low beam bowl has a small arrow which would match the small stem on the bulb you wish to use. If you install your bulb this way, then there's a good chance of getting the right beam spread pattern on your wall. This is a very small thing that most accessory guys don't pay attention to. To align the Ultinon Pro 9000 correctly, we loosen the twistable ring and then insert the adapter ring inside, and then we tighten the black ring back again. The connector ring should align on the small notch on the bottom of the bulb, and then the bulb is ready to be installed. Now all we have to do is connect the LED connector to the stock H7 socket, and we need to pay attention to the polarity this time since this is an LED. So if your bulb isn't working when you put everything back, then there's a strong chance that you reverse the terminals. The terminal on the stock connector with 2 wires will be connected to the negative post, while the positive pin goes to the terminal with 1 wire coming from it. It's finally time to take the headlights back to the car and connect them. Reinstall the headlights perfectly in place before checking the beam alignment. Now since the bulbs power on just fine, we are ready to inspect the beam pattern on a wall. So let me show you what the pattern looks like if you don't install the LED bulb correctly. You get a very weird bright glare on the wall, and this translates to very poor visibility while driving on the roads. The beam on the right is scattered and unfocused, and this is what happens to many LED retrofits since the holders aren't aligned correctly with respect to your reflector design. Now let's fix everything, and this is the beam pattern when the bulbs in the reflector are installed correctly. So after some fine tuning, I was able to achieve a headlight pattern with about 90% sharpness compared to the halogen beam pattern, and this is a fairly good result from an LED retrofit bulb. I have tested these beams thoroughly in quite a few scenarios, and during my testing I did not find these to cause a glare to other passengers and drivers once they were perfectly aligned. Now sometimes on camera, even a proper genuine headlight assembly can appear to cause glare from a particular set of angles, and so to prove my point, let me show you the stock headlight beam and let me move the camera around to show you the glare that the camera lens could pick up, while confirming that it was not glaring to my eye at the same time. So coming to the performance of a light bulb, it is my belief that a video is not really the best metric to judge a headlight's performance, since the camera and the image sensor and the processing greatly alters the perceived brightness. But I've tried my best to downplay the camera settings to give you a fair idea of the lighting experience with these bulbs. If you have a look at the driving sample footage, you will notice the low beam cutting in below the window line of most parked vehicles, which indicates this beam pattern is aligned properly. Coming to the luminous performance, I wasn't able to run any luminous flux tests, but I feel there is a notable improvement in the visibility compared to the halogen bulb, especially in dry driving scenarios. The beam color is rated around 5800 Kelvin, but it is definitely on the cooler side, and as I was expecting, these did not do the best in the rains. Illustration of what the two beams look like side by side, I've kept the beam on the left as the stock halogen, while the beam on the right is the Philips Ultinon 9000 LED. In my opinion, The halogen is still sharper and more crisper than the LED bulb, and this is something to expect since the LED bulb is being retrofitted in a reflector housing. But if you look at the intensity, that is, there is a stronger bright spot due to the Philips Ultinon 9000, which is something that you should expect from an LED bulb, which is expected to throw more power and more light on the road. I really liked the pleasing premium white light from these bulbs and the fact that they have a very close beam pattern which is perfectly drivable and modulated for outdoor use. Other than the headache I faced about the headlight connector rings, which I've written more about in my thread, the bulbs themselves were first free to install, with next to no dangling wires, and they required no modification to the dust and weather cap, and so there's no chance of your warranty being void. So in case you are looking for a better headlight bulb to improve the visibility on your halogen Polo 6R, then the Philips Ultinon LED bulbs are a good upgrade over the stock halogen, at least in most driving scenarios. Still not happy with the light output from this assembly? Then skip to the end of this video to see the next big thing.